So, high school. That's a thing that ended abruptly. Since school ended so suddenly, I wanted to take a moment to reflect on my high school years. God, that feels weird to say. And while I do that to make it a little bit more visually interesting, I thought I would take apart this bad boy. He's been with me for 2 years and he has not healed to the massive amount of things that I used to carry in him. I carry less now this year, but even still, you've done good. He's been sitting in my closet ever since I stopped going to school, so I thought it would be nice to take him apart so he can have a little break before I go off to college. It's probably best that I move to the floor because it's easier to take him apart there. This knot is just not staying put. Every time I move around, it like pops out. Hopefully that will hold up until I'm done filming. Most of the events that were planned for this semester have just been completely cancelled. Even though that is a bummer, I am looking on the bright side because that is not even close to the worst thing that could be happening to us right now. I'm gonna start by talking about the things that my school canceled or postponed because of. Y'all know what I refer to when I say YouTube is censoring things that say, so I might as well censor it myself. I was actually working on a committee for a 70s party, the first ever party my school would have held. But that's not gonna come to fruition this year, which is slightly disappointing because probably you'll see this in a vlog I will release after this video, but I worked my butt off on the flyer and then it just doesn't happen. Alright, so we have taken part the first part of my backpack, which technically was supposed to be a cooler, but I just use it as a pocket for keeping my hygiene things. I have this little bag with the lid came, but the actual thing didn't. Some breath spray. I have things for when Shark Week comes along. And I have my deodorant and baby wipes from my pits because I live in a tropical climate and I am a sweaty girl. That is the first compartment empty. Apart from being on that committee and planning that, I was also planning on sending a proposal to the government. I was working on that government proposal with the director of my school, so that's not gonna happen, at least not with the director. I'll probably end up still making the government proposal myself. The proposal suggested that there should be a bigger implementation of sustainable scale agriculture in Puerto Rico and also like the planting of new trees. It was inspired by when I went to Costa Rica. One of the dudes that we met there talked about how in his community it was required that every single student plant at least 1 tree per school year, and that amounted to a really high amount of trees. I was using the logic like, you know, if they can do it, we can do it, even though it does take a lot of organization and whatnot. But also with the insane mess that is going on right now in Puerto Rico, we have like earthquakes again, we have all this stuff. I doubt that the government will pay much attention to a single proposal about something like that. Normally, what I would keep in this pocket, what I used to keep here, but for some reason it's not here, is that like there are these little mini pockets, and I would keep tea in here because y'all know I'm really into my teas, but right now I do not have any, and I'd also keep my wallet here, but that's the only thing I've taken out of this backpack because I needed to use it because that's where I have my driver's license. Yeah, I'm cool like that. I drive. You cringing at me does not help my confidence levels, but that's what it used to be in this pocket. And then here we have the main compartment, which is where the juicy stuff is. We have a jacket. We have this binder, which I use to sort all the papers I got from classes, and I also keep really old papers for reference from previous years. Some of our teachers kind of have this expectancy that we keep papers that they gave us centuries ago, so I might as well have like a few of those century-old papers so they don't get that mad at us for having to reprint things. But yes. Yes! And then I have these 2 notebooks. I don't really take notes on here anymore. I keep them in my backpack just in case. I've mostly moved on to using my iPad to take notes because I find it a lot easier to take organized notes on my iPad than I do on notebooks. But this used to be my math notebook, and this used to be my history notebook, I think. And then we also have these 2 laminated sheets which say the jobs that I had at the end of the semester. I'm technically not supposed to have these. You know how sometimes you have a lot of pencils at the bottom of your backpack and they just randomly pop up there? Well, that happens with these cards. Let me see whether I actually have pencils. Surprisingly, I just have 1. Usually I would have a lot more than this. This one has a pretty sharp point and a nice eraser, unlike a lot of the pencils that usually end up here. Sometimes I would keep hand sanitizer on the side of my backpack, but for some reason it's not there. I'd also keep my headphones there, but I've been using them. That's the entirety of what is in my backpack. Apart from the 2 other goals that I previously mentioned, I thought maybe it would be nice to start some type of club at my school because currently there are no clubs, and I also thought it was important for me to have a solid end to the semester because I am the leader of our little fundraising initiative and I wanted to properly be able to guide whoever was passed down all the responsibilities that I currently have. I just felt like this last year I wanted to have goals that were not purely academic. I wanted to leave some sort of lasting impact at the school that would go beyond me, but that didn't happen. So I think what I'm gonna do is throw this into the washer because this probably has not been washed in a while. And where I go to school, the dirt there, it's like red clay dirt. Never take a pair of shoes that is white to my school. Just don't. It won't be white ever again. Alright, it says not to wash it, so I suppose I'll just spot clean it later. So let's shove you to the side, sir. These hygiene things I think I'll just put underneath my sink, and I will be back. And also, obviously, a big thing is that I might not be getting a graduation. That is currently up in the air. This math notebook is like halfway through, so I will probably sort through these papers another time to check that I actually need them, and if not, I will probably recycle them. These notebooks are probably the worst notebooks I have ever had. Like, I had another one of these and both covers fell off in like 2 weeks, and my sister also had 2 of these notebooks and their covers fell off. This actually doesn't have any notes whatsoever. Apparently this wasn't my old notebook then. This is just sad. I keep all my semi-used or blank notebooks in here. I'll probably use them for like to-do lists or something. I'm gonna put these somewhere where I remember to give these to my school's director. I am going to sort through the papers in here and see what is from this year that I can actually get rid of right now. And while I'm on it, I thought I'd talk about the things I have learned from my school career. My first note, and one of the most important things, is that stress is never going to fully go away. You will never have a perfect moment to pursue the things that you want to pursue. So throughout school, it is very important that you learn to cope with stress and de-stress, and also learn that working is not something that you should be doing 100% of the time. So discover what you find relaxing. Usually for me, things that I find relaxing are creative activities that you don't really have to think that much while doing, or you have to just focus on one specific thing, and that puts you in this like meditative state where you forget about all your worries. But you know, some people prefer the more like traditional self-care, like doing face masks, taking hot showers or hot baths, lighting a candle, you know, that stuff also helps. So the one little stack of paper that I took out are references from last year. It says it, but I don't know whether it shows up on camera. I fully don't think I looked at very many of these. Some of this stuff is useful, but I think it'd be better if I passed it digitally. So I might keep these and then pass what I think is important to my iPad. One of the biggest tips I would have that has helped me this year in comparison to other years is trying to find the joy in schoolwork, even if it's a topic you hate. Like putting a spin on the work that you're doing so it is something that you are more interested in. Especially if you have a choice in a topic, try and make it so that it relates as closely to your interests as possible. Another tip I have is to not resist change that much. During your time at school, things will shift a lot. Your friendships will change, people will leave, you will leave certain people, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. And sometimes we make it worse by trying really hard to like grip onto the parts of our lives that are no longer serving us, but we still want to keep for some reasons. Learn to let go of things. I'm really bad at multitasking. It's pretty hard to look through these, so I might just talk for a bit and then go back to this. Along those lines, don't try and change yourself to fit in with what other people expect of you, and really question everything. Question whether the way you're acting is the way you want to be acting and the way you want to be as a person. This is a very simple example, but I noticed this a little bit when I did my first like Marie Kondo closet cleanup. A lot of the pieces that I would buy for myself were not necessarily the pieces of clothing that I was attracted to. It was also based on what are the people around me wearing, more so than what I was interested in wearing. It's just a really small chunk of the things that the people around you could affect. I thought, lastly, in my talking, I could talk about my final memories at school and what weird experience the last week or so was. The 3 memories that I remember the most from those last weeks is that, first of all, we were filming a short film for theater. Now that I think about it, I'm oddly nostalgic. It was just fun to put on makeup and all the screenwriting we did and everything. And it's a shame it won't lead to anything, but I will cherish those memories. And thank you to my friends who like did my makeup and gave me tips on the way I was acting and all that, even though they don't watch these videos, but still. It's kind of sad that it ended on that last week, because one of the last few memories that I have is that my friends, the ones who I was working on the short film with, we were sat on this hill that overlooked the ocean. You can see the horizon, it's really pretty, and you can hear birds. And we were sat there and we were talking about life and our goals, and we were also making plans. And it's a shame that that probably won't happen for a really long time, but it's still a sweet memory that, like, when I think about it, I'm transported back to the feeling of being there. The last memory that I have is obviously the last school day I had, and for some reason just remembering that gives me ultimate nostalgia, even though it wasn't that long ago. but it just feels so far away and so odd. A lot of people missed that day of school for reasons not related to, and a lot of people left early because of that, because there were even like teachers missing. I remember everyone was just saying how it felt like the last day of school. That was a Friday, and we really didn't know that on Monday we would start quarantine. It didn't seem probable that it would start the next week because we didn't have any confirmed cases. It didn't feel like a regular school day at all. I remember the last thing I did at school was I cleaned the kitchen. Wow. Because at my school we also divide ourselves with like chores that we have to do around the school. This entire like experience has just felt incredibly surreal. Sometimes it just feels like a really weird dream / nightmare. If you're graduating, or even if you aren't, I'd suggest that you take a moment to reflect on everything that happened to you this semester and how you're feeling. Make sure you don't completely disappear off the face of the earth. Keep in contact with the people you love. I hope you guys are doing well. It is 4:20. Blaze it. I'm going to disassemble this and pick out what I can throw out and what I can't, and I'll probably show a time lapse, listen to some music myself, put some music for y'all to listen to. So I will see you after that. This is the storyboard for the short film I was talking about, and this is a script, so I'm definitely keeping these. This is the final pile of papers that I'm going to get rid of. Also, ignore the little stains on my floor. I've knocked over my paint water a lot of times. I'm gonna leave my backpack out to spot clean it later today. In this episode of me struggling to do things one-handed. For now, I'm gonna put this little folder and the papers in the same spot where it was in the closet, and I will deal with them properly and pass all the useful notes digitally later. So that's it for today, guys. I hope you have a wonderful day or night, depending on where you are. If you liked this video, drop a like down below. If you really liked and you'd like to see more where this came from, then subscribe. Comment if your heart desires, and I will see you in the next video. Stay safe, wash your hands. I am about to rush to rip these clothes off of me because I am steaming.